Okay, and welcome to part 2 of Five Bells. So the story continues where he's kind of reflecting on his friend, and I think for me there's a real change in the tone. There's kind of this sort of relief, the emotional, the mood from the previous stanza has shifted, and it's a lot gentler. Your angers too had been leached away, the soft archery of summer rains. It's an absolutely beautiful image. And you've got the gentle sort of assonance of the sentence itself. If we're starting to look at the rhyme and the rhythm structure, there's no real rhyme, but there is a consonance, so that long sound of the vowels there that really give a kind of gentle feel to it. Sponge paws of wetness. Again, as that image, sponge paws, it's just a gentle padding. So it creates a beautiful atmosphere. Leaves of living, they're sort of this things that are stuck to you, but in a kind of a gentle way. So, and it says here, and showed your bones that had been sharp with rage. And I think you can see that the rage was before, and now we're into this kind of calming, if you like, of it all. But it's actually a transition into this emptiness, exhaustion, grief. The journal with the sawn off lock, and it's this kind of sifting through the possessions. That someone who had been living was now dead. This surrender. And you've got this kind of almost like itemized list of room 6x8 on top of the tower. So everything very kind of measurement, clinical, if you like. Colors dealt across the floor. And if we listen to the sentence structure and those harsh sounds over sills and on the laps of chairs, guns, photos of many different things, and the grouping together of those two images, but also those sounds, different curios that I obtained. So, we continue on. Sorry, lost my page there. We've got the Sydney by the spent aquarium flare of penny gaslight on pink wallpaper. We argued about blowing up the world, so we're kind of returning to this memory. You were living backward. So each night you crept a moment closer to the breast, and they were living, all of them, those frames and shapes of flesh that had perplexed your youth, and most your father, the old man gone blind, with fingers always round a fiddle's neck. So it's kind of that sense of going towards death, but going back, going to those who have gone before. So all the while kind of getting closer to the more of a drab, sort of despondent images of death, the tablets, the graveyard, the quiet astonishment, staked bone by bone, the physicalization of death, these funeral cakes of sweet and sculptured stone. And it's kind of this twisting as well, like this twisting of the knife in terms of the imagery in the poem itself. Moving on to the end, return to those really important images of time, water, death, this idea of, the predictability of water washing over you and sort of dissolving you, getting rid of you, complete annihilation, washing you away. And they've got also this kind of loss, this idea of gone. You have no suburb. And then he repeats all of that again, the wash, the predictability. And if you're looking at techniques, thinking of the repetition, tide goes over the waves right over you, as time is over you and the mystery. So before, it's kind of repeated, the tide is over you again, and this idea of waves almost lapping at a beach, but that is represented in the style of the poem in terms of how it's physically laid out and the rhyming scheme and how it is. So it goes on. There's kind of this deep empathy for the moment of death. I felt the wet push its black thumbballs in the night you died. I felt your eardrums crack and the short agony. So he kind of revisits this moment of death, and also the longer dream of death. He can't shake it off. And there's also this sense of powerlessness, that I was bound and could not go that way. I was blind, I could not feel your hand. He can't know the answers. He can't know where his friend is. He can't know what's happening, who now are gone. So it keeps going on. Come back to the present. I look out of my window in the dark, and you've got these moments of insight, diamond quills, combs of light, and this repeated kind of revisiting to this question. I tried to hear your voice. All I heard was a whistle and the scraping sound of seabirds, and we come back to and bells, 5 bells coldly ringing out. So reiterating the poem's core, this ends with a decisive 5 bells, just to leave us in no doubt that this kind of movement towards death is continuing, and that we are powerless to do anything about it, this kind of cold march of time. Thanks for listening.